Okay.
Did you? Okay.
Tell me I have to be here.
Thank you. We appreciate it. You've got the,
Names of building, dates of erection, monumental citations,
there are
commemorative
two
tablets and the like when carved into stone.
That's burned, huh?
one is burned and the
I
other
think
is
that Danny
stained.
is, that say they need,
Yeah, the year.
the Laos building,
yeah,
yeah, or the
yeah.
cornerstone, you know, not, this is
Okay.
something
And
new.
where, would this be like the letter?
And
And
they're all
then,
Hess.
or how is this working?
That would be anything that's on the side of the building, supposedly.
No, but I mean for the eye chart.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would be letters instead of checks, I imagine, right?
Oh yeah, I think that's just a sample.
Yeah, they just give you a
Right,
sample,
they're just
burned
showing
in or painted.
how they could,
Do it.
well, and maybe I shouldn't try to be the one to explain it, maybe the applicant's representative should explain. Did we wanna,
Well, hold on, guys, let's,
Do it in order.
yep. Let's go first to, well, you know, the Dick Eye table application is moot.
That's right.
Right, that-
Yeah,
that-
that's gone.
we're just carrying that till the second portion of it gets,
And we still have nothing on Delta Sign.
have nothing,
Any contact whatsoever,
no, nothing.
no word.
No.
Did we move ahead with the other portions of this?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
It was just a freestanding sign component of the application that was.
All right, I guess here's what I would suggest. I would suggest a motion to table one last time with a letter or email, something from us saying, if we don't have anything further, we're gonna consider it withdrawn.
I'll second that.
Withdrawn or?
Or deny.
Deny.
Deny without
Deny
prejudice.
Without prejudice?
Well, it was, yeah, I don't know.
Or denied with-
And generally, if they respond and say, I'm withdrawing, that's,
Well,
Without.
we haven't voted on it yet.
you're right, we haven't voted on anything.
So I, you know, to
Short of the
to say
secret
it's,
component of it.
well, so, okay, here's what I'll say, one more time to get some information, or, we're gonna vote on it, in the absence of such information. Okay.
So we're gonna give them one more time.
One more time, so that's the motion to table, and then we'll just vote next time, with or without the information.
Sounds good.
They have a second on
I
that?
second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so, let's go to the eyesight.
Everybody has the memo from the planning board,
Yep.
and this is a sample of the treatment that is proposed for the letters as part of that eye chart. Half of it is a burned wood, and the other half is a stained wood. And I believe that you can see that's been notched, etched, whatever you want to call the treatment there. I think that was just done as a way to break the letters up in
Yeah.
the field on the wall. If I'm mistaken, am I correct?
That's correct, yep.
Right, so they would groove out and then burn or stain?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we explored or discussed was that if we were to burn the graphic onto the wood, the field of the rain screen would be like a natural white, or a natural wood, which would be sealed. But prior to that, we would have either stencils or some kind of stencil made so that we could burn or etch or use the stencil to stain. I think the results would be very similar from far away. Ultimately, we want the grain of the wood to be consistent throughout. I think you could get the same effect with the stain as you would with the burning. The burning, which we've come to find out is an ancient Japanese way of preserving wood. They used to burn and char large panels, and they would put them up for cladding on buildings, and they last thousands of years. So that's one area that we've explored. There's a certain complexity with doing it that we know, and there's probably an associated cost. But I think we're confident that we could get the results out of both. But we wanted to show that the two are very similar. I think it might even be hard to tell the difference between the two. And I think definitely from far away it would be even more difficult to tell the difference.
You know, it's not that, I'm personally against this, I think it would look very nice, but it has been designated by Harold as a sign. So we will have to, I mean, I have to deal with this as a sign, okay? I think the integral part of the building that you're talking about is a brand-new concept.
Sure.
And I think concepts and laws are made by the, you know, by the board, the town board, not us. We interpret the law and give exemptions from it. So I feel if I voted yes on this, that I would be creating a new kind of law saying that integral part of the buildings are now legal when it's up to them. Because Harold has designated this as a sign, Danny.
Well, Harold, let me ask you something. We have an excerpt here from the code.
Right.
What is, it seems like there's a part on top of this or over on this page that's missing. What is,
It's
are these exemptions? What are they?
exemptions from. the code.
Exemptions.
Yes, there would be exemptions.
Okay,
from the
so
code.
if we were to consider this integral,
Correct.
it'd be allowed without any action on our part.
By you or by us as part of a permitting process.
Okay,
Now, there would be some oversight, depending on if you went through a burning practice, very similar to where you'd be putting down a hot mop roof or something like that, because you're using a flame on the building. There's some fire code issues that you'd have to go through with the fire marshal and ensure to protect
And
that.
we could fabricate this in a shop as well. I mean,
Right, but, I mean, it's not that we would be completely divorced of interaction with that, but relative to sign permit process, we would.
and do you know that the planning board intended to, in essence, invoke this section when they used that word in their memo?
Yeah, that was the discussion I had with Mark Valentine and AJ Hetzke.
Okay, all right, because I totally disagree with it. Just, I just think that exemption section is for, as it's, you know, as the language is pretty clear, exemption for commemorative tablets, monumental citations, that sort of thing.
We used
So,
it
I
for
mean, it's not.
We used it for
it's a-
Summit. They had that Keystone, that carved in they named the building in that
Right,
case, and
right.
we used it for there.
That's exactly what it should be used for. That's
Yes.
exactly, it matches it perfect.
Okay. But we asked them for it and they gave it to us, which is, we appreciate that.
Was this changed after this? The Summit one, I mean, because I thought we voted for a variance, giving them an extra, in effect, an extra building. on the side.
Initially, they went in as part of an overall sign package, but then it was determined that keyway sign that said the building name, because if you take a look at all their buildings, that same building name's carried from one to another.
Right, yeah, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah.
So we didn't approve a variance.
Not for that portion of it, but there was
Right.
some variances granted for some signage on that property. Or I shouldn't say variances, special permits, because
Right.
we don't like the variances, the special permits to be carried from one to another.
Okay, Andres.
Based on what we've seen, I think it's still, you know, we can't, I don't really see that there's enough information to call it integral. I'm still gonna make a motion to deny the sign for or the eye chart.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Comments? Okay, so we have a motion to deny the sign and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And I
All right.
recuse myself, so.
You know, I hate to use the word appeal, but I think you could still go in front of the town board and see if they can make a law or, you know,
Right.
give some direction on how this can be done.
Sure.
Again, we have to do it because it's a sign. It's called a sign to us.
Okay.
Okay?
And well, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good
Yeah,
luck.
thank you.
All right, so let's go to, first of all, the minutes. Wait, looking through these, yeah, exactly, so, well done. Pete, are we looking for motions to approve them, or are we just,
I think you should do that. That would be
Okay.
proper to do that.
all right, well, then I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written from last month.
I second.
You know what I found kind of funny in this?
What?
The continual referral to Mitch I. Isn't it Rich?
It is.
That was,
It is
yeah.
Mitch, yeah.
And then is the engineer call him Mitch? So I wonder if somewhere in some of the application or something, there is
I
Mitch.
think
Yes,
there
there
might-
is, because.
There is?
Yes, there is, because.
But is that correct? I don't, this is just, you know, I'm just
Mitch is
curious.
Rich's father, who is Dick's son.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, so we have a motion to approve the minutes in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, tonight's application, let's go through them just to clarify any issues. First one, any issue there? I have one, I guess. I just want to make sure I understand the rule,
Yeah, right.
because it's the same rule for both.
Correct.
So what is it, Harold? What's the rule that's in play here?
You can have a fence on your property. From the right-of-way line back into the property, the fence height can be no higher than 3 feet. Up to 20 feet. From 20 feet, the remainder of the property, the fence height can go up to 6 feet. So in this case,
On any side?
on any side, right?
Within 20 feet of the right-of-way has
The
to be 3
right-of-way
feet?
has to be 3 feet.
Okay, now my question, and that's what I asked you in the hallway. You have a 3-foot variance from both the east and north property lines. If what are you saying that that fence is okay, is 20 feet? We'll use the first one, 22. It is 20 foot,
the
and all you
fence-
want is a variance on each corner? Or are you saying,
The fence is on his property, so it's not in the right-of-way. And
Okay.
on
is it within 20 feet of the right of way?
the east property line,
Okay.
which is technically his side, this is house number 22.
I got you.
His side, he's 1 foot from the property line. On the front property line, which is the north property line,
Okay.
he would need a 3-foot variance.
On the whole fence?
No,
No,
3
just,
foot in.
3 foot
From
in,
the end.
because he's 17 feet off of the right-of-way over there, the way the
The fence goes
is-
like this, he's gotta be 3 feet down here, and then you
Right.
go up to 6 for the rest of it.
Right. So what you're saying is from, where it tees, the road makes a T.
Right.
Where that fence is along, it needs 3-foot variance?
He is
From the
3
edge.
foot into that.
The right-of-way.
That right-of-way.
So what
Not the
you're saying
right-of-way,
is
but
it's
that
too
20 foot-
high.
that
If it
20 foot
was-
is a 20-foot zone.
Right. If it was 3 foot, the whole fence, it would not be a problem.
That's correct. If the
Okay,
fence
I
was
got you.
3 foot high, he
Yep,
would
gotcha.
not be in violation.
Is that
Okay.
a site clearance issue?
That is the intent of the code, to
Sure,
provide
yeah, that's a
clear
good
sight
point.
distance.
That's a
yes.
good point.
That is
Okay.
the intent of the code.
Okay.
has that code been changed recently? Didn't it used to be it was 6 feet, except for the very front would only be 3 feet? Yeah, I think.
I kind of thought there was something like that too, where oftentimes you see fences tapered down sometimes as you get closer, but
No, you can have a 6 foot high fence in the front property, if you'd like.
As long as it's 20 feet away from
20
the
feet
right
away
of
from
way.
the right of way. yeah. And the presumption is that 20 feet is about what a car length is, because if you look at our code relative to the parking spaces, that's what our parking standard is. So presumably, a vehicle is gonna be able to back out or pull out and be able to see down that road and over top of that.
And I think that's what the problem with this is. If it was, like the one across the street is, it just encloses their backyard.
Right.
It doesn't go
Yes,
near the
it
street.
doesn't go out.
But the one that goes near the street is definitely, I have to creep up to go around it.
Yeah,
But
wouldn't
he's
you-
gonna have an explanation, let him explain it, no big deal.
He's gonna throw out a very interesting.
Well,
concept.
let's await that
So,
for the
let
public
you
hearing.
guys, yeah.
Everyone clear on the rule?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so let me ask just a follow-up there, we're spending a lot of time on this, but, how often do we, is it typical, how much space is typical between the right-of-way and a property line?
Generally, anywhere between 18 and 20 feet.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, so let's shoot to number 3, I think we all sort of know, well, but if anyone have any questions or clarification now that we're,
I had one question.
yeah?
Harold, did you make a determination that the H logo does not exceed 50% of that sign? Because it's not advertised in here, and we had talked about that.
I did not make any determination as to that
I mean,
being,
it's a pretty big H.
yeah.
Well, what's the sign, is it the whole,
Well,
all
I guess
all the blue?
if it's that whole entire blue area, then
Then it's probably
okay.
less than 50%,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
But it goes down, it encloses the doorway.
No, I know,
mean,
it
is
kind of
that
wraps
enclosed?
around it.
And is the doorway included
Well,
in that
what's, you're
too?
the guy,
I will
No,
say
seriously.
that
Oh, I know,
It's
and
on
I'm
either
asking
side.
him now.
it.
'Cause you're right,
it does
it's not in
exceed
front of us.
that- It does not exceed that area that would
Of
be.
the- of the blue, if you
that
would.
Blue, which I believe is part of that sign.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so that issue is not in front of us. Anything else on that one? Excuse me. Number 4, anyone need any clarification there? No. 5 is, I don't know, just seems like, why is it even in front of us, but that's okay.
I guess it's because it's a new person, a new place owns it. so
They're selling-
traditional
It's
use.
a subsidiary though, isn't it? Pretty much?
What we were told, it is not a subsidiary.
All right.
It is a new business that is being sold off as a
Okay, so
retail.
it'll be a separate, even though they'll share the name. All right,
That's
fine.
right.
I just
Even though
have
they
a
share-
question.
Yeah.
In the front, there are the 2 ice machines. Have they ever, do they need approval for those? Or have they, I couldn't see that they ever got them.
They were there when the planning board made their most recent approval.
In May of last year? Because
I think
May
it
and
was-
13
I-
was the last planning board, I think.
Of this year?
No,
Oh, May of
last year,
2013, yes,
13.
yes.
That's right here.
That's when, that's when they were there, they showed up, was when the planning board.
Did they? I didn't see that show up, but
An interesting question. What, if if Corporation A owned that Hess station as a separate subsidiary, and then it was sold to Corporation B, but still the same corporation operating the facility, but the ownership of the corporation changed, would we be requiring the same thing? Because it almost seems like the same situation. You have a new set of people in controlling it. But the
What was
business-
explained to me by the attorney group out of Florida was that this is being sold off as a separate entity to another group. That's what was told to me.
So the ownership is changing.
They're still gonna provide the fuel,
Yeah,
but,
the rest of it is.
but Hess, Emerita Hess, or whatever their corporate name is not gonna be involved with this operation at all.
It's kind of
I
like a
thought
mobile
I
one
saw
sold
that
off.
the Hess was gonna be it was gonna be a single member LLC and member was Hess.
All I can tell you is what I was
That's lawyers.
told by the attorney. Because quite honestly, I would have preferred not to have brought them into the board. And he called and said, look, we're gonna be selling off all the Hess stations and it's no longer gonna be Hess owning it, it's gonna be a different entity owning it. What do we need to
So
do?
now every Hess that's sold that's in the Penfield area is gonna have to come in front of the board?
The Hess station down at Panorama is owned and operated by a different entity than Hess. There's a
But
different
Harold,
group
as
that
a
owns it down
practical
there.
matter, what would be the basis for us denying it?
Yeah,
If they're operating it identically, for the most part, you see, substantially
There
same-
isn't-
same hours, same location, same physical
I
setup.
understand the dilemma that you had, but the code doesn't allow for that transfer of that conditional use permit
Without our approval.
without
Yeah,
the
without
board's
approval.
approval.
Okay.
That's more of the dilemma, the code doesn't allow for that to happen.
Okay.
Well, it's just another thing to jot down and let the code review committee, whenever they meet again, take it up.
Okay.
Okay, so
Number
the-
6. Yeah.
number 6, pretty clear application anyway. All right, so anything else to discuss in work session?
no,
All right, we have about 8 minutes and then we'll reconvene for the public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is going to take place in 2 parts. The first part will be our public hearings. We will ask the applicant to come up to the podium and give us name and address, and then explain to the board why the relief requested should be granted. Once the applicant is done, board members will have some questions. and then we'll invite anyone in the audience that cares to speak about the application to come up and also give name and address, and then talk about the application. After the public hearings are adjourned, we'll take a brief recess. We then will reconvene in the back of the room to deliberate on tonight's applications and to tend to any unfinished business that the board may have. Certainly, members of the public are welcome at both the public hearings and the deliberations, although deliberations generally is a time reserved for conversation amongst board members with staff, and occasionally with our council. If you want to stay, more than welcome. Our agenda today, I would say, is mid-size, but if you want to leave and enjoy what's left of the sunshine, you can certainly call tomorrow and find out what action, if any, the board took on a particular item. Every month, I like to point out that the town does, in my opinion, a very good job of notifying neighbors that live near an application, a property that is presented an application, that the application is going to be heard by this board. And the reason the town does that is so neighbors are fully informed of their right to come in and talk about it if they choose to do so. Town does that by having applicants post signs. The town mails postcards to neighbors if you live within a certain distance of the property, the subject property. They do it online, and they post it on bulletin boards as well. And we all, I think, feel that it works well because we often get people in to comment on applications, which helps us in our job. So, having said that, I'd ask you to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First application, please, Harold.
Application number 1. Adam Benfante, 22 Tuscany Lane, Webster, New York, 14580. Requests an area variance from Article 4-4-1-D of the code to allow an existing 6-foot-tall fence less than 20 feet from the east property line at 22 Tuscany Lane. The property is owned by Adam Benfante and is zoned RR-1. This is SBL number 094.02-2-25. This is application number 14Z-0040.
Good evening.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
My name is Adam Benfante. This is my wife, Natalie Benfante. We reside at 22 Tuscany Lane. Before I get started, I have some additional paperwork for the board if they would like it.
Sure.
It's a petition.
Here, I'll pass it down for you.
So basically what the petition says is we just asked 3 simple questions to the residents in the immediate proximity of both fences, and we had them sign it with their approval. And there's also a map on the back showing the location of their homes. Early May, I called the town of Penfield inquiring about a fence that I wanted to put up on the east border of my property. At that time, I was connected with a gentleman named Andy. I left a couple voicemails over the course of several days. Eventually, I called back without hearing back from him, and I asked the receptionist to get me in touch with anyone that could answer some fence questions. I was put in touch with a gentleman named Tom, who then asked me to mail him my survey map, or email him my survey map, which you have an email included in the packet. Mm-hmm. We discussed the fence, and at that time is where I believe there was some miscommunication as to where I wanted to place the fence and where he thought I was putting the fence. On May 22nd, the fence went up, and within 5 weeks, we were cited in violation of the location. We originally put the fence up for 2 reasons, one being for privacy. We're on a corner lot, and we have over 120-foot frontage on the east side of our property, and the other being for our 4-year-old son to create a barrier so that he has a enclosed boundary, so to speak. I'm going to hit on a couple highlights from the paper that I submitted. Will the fence create an undesirable change to the neighborhood character? I specifically picked this design to match the neighbor adjacent to us, so it is a matching design fence. The neighbors that I've spoken to say it's aesthetically pleasing. It's a white vinyl fence. We feel that it creates a sense of development and appeal to the neighborhood. And as of right now, as far as I know, there's no complaints on file and none were given to us in person. The variance is necessary because the structure is already in place. Like I said, it was installed on May 22nd. I've talked to the contractor, and it would cost $26.50 to dismantle and relocate to the proper distance from the road. The fence, as far as I'm concerned, would not exist if I had known what I know now as far as the rules and regulations. I do have permits for both a shed and a deck, so I'm trying to show that I am a resident that follows the rules. And I attempted my due diligence by contacting the town of Penfield prior to construction. We don't feel that it's a variable or a substantial variance because no driveways are along the property line. There is actually a stormwater detention land before the fence. And from what I'm told, there will be no structures put on that parcel. The intersection, if you stop, which technically you're supposed to, even though there is no stop sign there, you do have over 150 feet of line of sight down the fence line. The utilities were marked and considered before the structure was put in, and they were avoided. And when speaking to Harold, we did not infringe on the right-of-way as far as where it was placed. It won't have any adverse effect on the environment. Nothing was removed, altered, or excessively excavated to put the fence in. We maintain it. Like I said, it's a vinyl fence. It's not going to rot, chip, fade, anything like that. It's located on higher ground, actually the highest ground on my property. So there's not going to be an issue with drainage or water runoff blocking. And in my opinion, I think it's going to potentially reduce some snow drifts because we do have a pretty large size lot on the edge of the neighborhood, and it might help block some of that. The violation was self-created, unfortunately. Again, miscommunication. I attempted to adhere to regulations. The town of Penfield doesn't have any information immediately available for fences as far as the code, at least that I could find on their website. I did build the deck recently within the last 2 years, and there was a nice brochure that you could print showing footers and other structures that were required. In addition to, there was a 3-point inspection for a deck. With a fence, there is no permit in place, so I kind of felt in that aspect, there is some room for misunderstanding.
Okay, yeah. All right, and you do now understand that what you're looking for is a variance of 3 foot on the distance from the road. You understand that, right?
No,
Yeah.
the 3 foot on the height.
On the height because it's within.
It's within 20 feet of the right-of-way.
That's why I thought
Okay.
we had the work session for.
Yeah.
But
sort of,
it's,
confusion.
the code will allow a 3-foot height in that location where the 6-foot high fence is. So he's
Okay,
really
so it's,
looking
we're just talking height.
height because it is allowed there because it is on his property. A 3-foot high fence is allowed in that location. A 6-foot high fence is not.
Okay, so
And,
you,
and no portion of the fence is in compliance?
No.
Okay.
No
That,
portion.
that was, okay, well,
Yeah.
regardless, go ahead.
yeah, okay, so
They're
as
different
you see,
understandings.
there is problems sometimes on the distance from the road.
We just had a misunderstanding now from a
Right.
discussion we had half hour ago.
So, believe me, we empathize with you. The only question that I have, or questions that I have, is you did the whole side of your property, and it was, you said to help your child, but did you need it the whole length of your property?
Well, like I mentioned, we did it for 2 reasons. Privacy was another reason.
Yeah.
And at the time, when I had asked the questions, I was told we can go to our property lines with the fences. Again, I didn't ask the right questions and I didn't receive the right answers. So my understanding was if I could afford it, I'm going to do it.
Okay. And the only other problem that I have with it is I pull up, and again, I was there twice because I wanted to make sure. As I pulled up to the T in the road, it's very, unless you drive across the sidewalk, you cannot see down because it's on a curve to the right-hand side of your property. Now, if I stop short, I could see inside your fence to that curve, but then I had to almost stop again to see the rest of it. All right, you know, the line of sight for a car coming down the side of the property. You're understanding which way I'm talking?
Yes,
Okay.
the south traffic.
So the fence across the street is really set way back because that's kind of set for their backyard. Yours is set for your whole side yard. And that's why my question was to justify the fence along the whole side of the yard. How do you justify that fence the whole side of your yard rather than, say, 3-4 panels not there?
Well, like I said, at the time, it really wasn't I was just trying to go for uniformity across the yard. I really wasn't trying to enclose the line of sight on the intersection by any means.
Right.
Living on a corner lot, you have very limited, what's the word I'm looking for?
Privacy.
Yes, very limited privacy, unfortunately. And the way that our home is designed, our dining room is enclosed with windows, so you're always on display,
Yeah.
whether it's traffic, people taking their dogs for a walk, or whatever. And it was our feeling that if we could put a fence up, we might as well get as much privacy out of it as we possibly could. And at the time, I had taken into consideration the fence across the street and where he had stopped. But when I had talked to him, he had just stopped there because it was financially feasible for him to do so. And his
Okay.
fence was there for well over a year at the time. So I assumed that that fence was okay, as did he. And even though the town of Penfield's in and out of that neighborhood quite often, being a new neighborhood. So my assumptions were apparently incorrect, but at the time, it felt justified.
Yeah, well, and let me say this. You know, as a member of the board, I feel you were not trying to do anything illegal, immoral. It's simply a misunderstanding, and we totally understand that, you know. My problem...
By the way, let me jump in there, Joe, if you don't mind. There's also no indication that anybody at the town did anything to
Mislead you.
bother you or mislead you. That's
No, there was no malicious intent
right.
in it.
Understood. Just wanted to say that it looked like it was good faith both ways.
Yeah. I talked to one of your neighbors. You weren't home, and the neighbor across the street wasn't home when I came, and I left my card. Obviously, you found it. He said something about a child was driving their bicycle to the corner, and they went right out in the street, and they had to slam on their brakes. There was almost an accident there. Do you know anything about that?
I do not, no.
Okay. And again, I just went and talked to a couple of neighbors because you weren't there and just asked them, what do you think of the fences? And all of them said they're very nice. But one of the neighbors talked about the line of vision from the corner. Okay, so that's why I bring that up. And if you had to remove 2 or 3 panels, is there anywhere else on your property you could possibly use those?
There is.
Okay. So other than that, I think I don't have a problem with it personally. But thank you for coming and explaining what happened.
Is there any, maybe you've already said this, and I apologize if you have, but is there any traffic control device at that intersection?
No.
No, unfortunately.
Either way?
No.
Not even a yield sign?
No. And that kind of raised, we have a neighborhood block party in our lot every year. And most of the neighbors were totally fine with the fence because there's a lot of 4- and 5-year-olds in the neighborhood, and it helps contain the party. Some of the neighbors did voice their opinion on the fact that they had to slow down. I work from home, so my office window looks at the intersection, and I can tell you that at best it's a rolling stop. Unfortunately, if there's no sign, people don't actually realize that they have to stop. So the fence, if anything, in my feeling, has created more people to slow down and be cautious of the intersection because there isn't a stop sign there. And with the amount of kids around, they should be stopping anyways.
Okay. Well, that's something we can take a look at some appropriate point, the town can. So, let me ask a question, and Harold, I don't mind if you answer, it doesn't matter to me, I just want to know the answer. How could this fence be moved, if at all, to be in compliance with the code, as it is? In what direction and what distance?
It would have to be moved south
Right.
and west.
How far south? Around?
3 feet.
Around probably 4 or 5 feet, and then west 19 feet.
Which would place it in the middle of my side yard.
Right.
Right.
But you could do it, is my point. I mean, you wouldn't, well. But you could.
But had I known originally, I wouldn't have erected it
About
at
the
all.
fence.
I'm not trying to divide my yard in half.
All right. All right. That's where the confusion was on the variances. Is it possible to grant a variance for setback versus height? But that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that we all knew that it's permissible in the right location, and now we have approximately where the right location would be.
Right, I mean, a fence in that location is acceptable, provided it doesn't exceed a 3-foot height. It's not on town right-of-way property, which would require a permit from the town highway department or DPW director.
Okay. I'm sorry, Carol, go ahead.
What would you have done in place of the fence? If anything?
We had originally thought of like a natural landscape, but again, being a corner lot, it's been recently brought to my attention that we have to basically deal with 2 fronts, our side front and our front front. And even that would require me to find out what I could and couldn't plant and as to how close to the road I could do that. So unfortunately, my lot, I deal with maybe 4 times more frontage than the typical lot in the neighborhood. I could have put something natural up and it would have grown well over 6 feet, to the point where it might have been encroaching at some point into areas that may have been questionable, but we wanted something that was more aesthetically pleasing, and the existing fence across the street we liked, so we wanted to match that to create a unity.
And just not to correct you, but to clarify it, when you say frontage, you mean sidage to the side of your house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's really long and that's where the fence is.
Yeah.
So it's not actually on the front of your house, it's on the side of your house, which would block your backyard, which is perfectly understandable.
Correct. And for the ones that have come out and seen the house was placed by Ryan 7.5 feet from the west border, so as to not block the model home at the time it was constructed. So we have no side yard on the west side, and our backyard is only 40 feet deep, which makes our front yard about 20 by 30. So our yard, if you want to consider it, is just the side lot pretty much, as far as usable space, what we can do with it. We were able to put a playground in the back of the yard, but it pretty much took up the whole area. So by putting the fence up, we were able to utilize the yard more like a yard rather than a showcase for the neighbors.
Gotcha.
I noticed when I first pulled in, I went there actually right before the hearing, and I noticed that when you pull in off of State, there's one of the first houses on the west side has a fence, I think almost all the way around it. It's wrought iron fence or something that looks like wrought iron.
Yes.
All the way around, and I was trying to get a gauge on how far that was from the line, but I couldn't tell. And then I also noticed further west from one of the houses, maybe it's the next application, down the way a bit, that there appears to be a solid vinyl fence as well, maybe surrounding a pool further west. I didn't drive all the way down there, I was late as it was, but okay.
There could be. There was an HOA in the neighborhood, and currently we're being told that it's being abolished. So neighbors are doing things that they may have not otherwise have done.
Yeah, okay,
I got a question. Yeah.
sure.
What would it cost to lop off a couple panels of that fence? Like from Tuscany?
Okay, so it's 120 feet right now. Each panel is an 8-foot section. It's $22 a foot per my contractor to reduce the fence, because they have to jackhammer each post. The sections in between obviously just slide right out. So you're looking at, let's say, 16 feet by $22 a foot, whatever that cost would be, unless I go more, 16, 32, 48, whatever.
All right, and how would that, just if you took off an 8-foot section, so it was a little more in line with the property across the street as far as the distance to the,
The property across the street's actually, I want to say 3 or 4 panels less.
okay.
It's a significant amount less. And that was one of the reasons why we went more, because I felt like if I put the fence up on the side yard, I'm only really enclosing half of my yard, which would have left the other half wide open. So for, as far as a barrier, it didn't seem feasible to me.
Okay. But I mean, you would improve the sight distance potential, no?
If I reduced it, yeah, there would be more line of sight. I don't like the fact that people were using my yard as the ability to, roll through the stop sign. But unfortunately, I can't control that.
If you did that, would it significantly be a detriment to your privacy issue? Would that,
No,
so it doesn't really add that much to the privacy?
no,
aspect.
because that section would be parallel with the driveway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other board questions? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? No. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Application number 2, Silvestro Fantauzzo, 146 Tuscany Lane, Webster, New York, 14580. Request an area variance from Article 4-4-1-D of the code to allow an existing 6-foot tall fence less than 20 feet from the east property line at 146 Tuscany Lane. The property is owned by Silvestro Fantauzzo and Angela Pietropaolo and is zone RR-1. This is SBL number 094.02-2-52. This is application number 14Z-0045.
Hi, Silvio
are you?
Fantauzzo. I live at 146 Tuscany Lane. I second what Adam just said, pretty much everything he just went by. Just a few more things. Like he said, it's a corner lot. The reason for me putting that fence up is it was my first home. I never bought a home before, and I totally understand why people say never buy a corner lot. And that's the reason why I put the fence up. Lights coming in the bedroom, constantly having lights. And this whole fence came up about, we were sitting having dinner for the first time we moved in that house, and all the neighbors walking by with their dogs, their kids staring right into my house. I'm like, hey, waving them from my kitchen, and I was just like, oh, wow, I think we need to do something about that. So that's, kind of how the whole fence thing came up. I came to the town. I forgot who I spoke to here. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so I really don't remember who it was, but when I came here...
You don't have pizza for breakfast?
I try to stay away,
You're not that old when you get to be my age. That's easy.
That's what I'm scared of, I'm already forgetting it, so... But,
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Or maybe fish and chips nowadays.
The fish and chips I'll have for breakfast. I'll do that.
They do
But-
have the cannolis.
We have cannoli donuts, whatever,
I
but-
could go on, believe me. It's nice to see you smiling, Sam.
So that's, we, all winter long, then we would sit in our kitchen with the blinds closed. I mean, I don't know if anyone's also lived in a basement before. I lived in a basement 2 months after I got married, and I never want to go back to that. And that's kind of what I felt like being in my house. So that was the whole reasoning of the fence. Once I didn't mean to, break rules, anything like that. I figured with my placement where I put it, it really wasn't obstructing the view from the road or anything like that. And it, being a corner lot, I didn't know because like my neighbors have a fence that borders the other neighbor's house. I just figured it's the side of my lot. I could go right to the property line. So that's why I did what I did. The guy that installed it, Regency Fence Company, he's been doing it for 20 years, and he never really said anything to me about it. So I figured it was okay. I mean, that's pretty much all I really have. My lessons learned: don't get a corner lot.
Yeah, yours is a little bit there. First of all, I got to explain because the audience that's viewing this at home, you're 146 area, right, and the other gentleman's 22. But how weird this is you're right across the street from one another. It's not like it's odd on one side and even on the other. It's 126 numbers different, and you're right across the street from each other. So it's the same corner we are referring to, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and your fence is different than his in the sense that you built it from, say, halfway of your lot backwards so that it blocked your house and your backyard, but not your front side yard.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and you've never had any complaints from
It's
anybody?
been up for a little bit over a year, and this is the first of anything to come about it. So I thought after being up for a year that there was nothing, and then we got the notice, so.
Right, and can you give me an approximate, if you know, I'm not sure you know, what's the difference between your fence and his back from the corner? Would you say if it was 2 panels or 3 panels his, or are yours more than that back?
I'd say probably 2 or 3 panels farther
Okay.
back than his, maybe
Okay.
4.
Because the line of sight of your fence certainly doesn't bother anything from coming to that corner. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, I mean, you could see around it totally fine. I
Right.
mean,
Okay, that's all I have then.
Anything from the board? Anyone in the audience? Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Application number 3, Rich Ide, Dick Ide Honda, 875 Panorama Trail South, Penfield, New York, 14625. Requests a special permit for signage under Article 7-7-3 from Article 7-7-13-B and Article 7-7-13-C of the Code to allow greater building-mounted signage and more than one building-mounted sign at 875 Panorama Trail South. The property is owned by Richard Ide and is Zone GB. This is SBL number 138.12-1-71.2. This is application number 14Z-0041.
Hey, before you get started, I just want to let you know that I think that this is probably the 3rd month in a row we've been talking about this, and I think you've handled the situation very well. We all know that everyone looked for information, everybody looked for resolutions, including you, couldn't find them. We're trying to go back 10, 15 years and figure out what happened here, and you've had a good temperament about it the whole way, and you're here now, covering everything, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Rich Ide, Dick Ide Honda, 875 Panorama Trail. I guess what we were just referring to there is this started several months ago. We were requesting some additional signage with a remodel, and that opened the door to the fact that we somehow or another, I don't know how it happened, but we didn't have paperwork for the existing signage. Now, we're talking about that tonight in addition to the additional signage, correct?
Right. The whole intent is to
The-
try to do it correctly.
Yep.
Something happened when you were in grade school or high school.
Yeah, I was graduating when those signs went up, so I don't
Okay.
know what happened.
Okay. Your focus wasn't on science.
Right.
Okay.
Got that diploma and ran. So, when it comes to the signs currently at the dealership, I guess we have too many signage and we're requesting permission to have them. Despite the fact that our address is Panorama Trail, I think anyone who's familiar with the area would agree that that dealership is not on Panorama Trail. It's off of Linden Park or something. I mean, we don't have the frontage on Panorama Trail. So I don't think the current signs would be a hindrance or an annoyance or, obstruct anyone's view while they're driving or anything. To my understanding, I don't believe we've had any complaints about the current dealership signage since it's gone up in 2002. If anything, I have plenty of stories for you about how people don't know where we are still to this day. My wife will be at the racket club and people say, "Oh, where are you guys?" Like half a mile away. I have people to this day walk into the Mazda store with their Honda purchased from us sometime previously. They walk in, look around, and say, "This place looks different." They're not even sure what store they're in. So I think the issue of whether or not we have too many signs, I would argue that we don't, because to this point, still people aren't quite sure where we are even, and once they get there, they find it. But I don't think the signs are distracting. We're not in a residential area. It's a commercial strip there. And, I think the signs are tasteful and represent the Honda dealership well. To speak to the, I believe, net 2 additional signs I was requesting to go above the new Service Express drive-through, I've thought about what we talked about the last few times. It was suggested at one point that we create one large sign to go above the 3 doors. Just aesthetically, I don't think that would look that very good. I think it would just be a very big, almost obtrusive sign that would almost attract too much attention to it. And then it was also suggested that perhaps we just put one sign above one of the doors, and it would be assumed that, that was accurate for all the doors. And while you can make that argument, I would also argue that perhaps putting one service sign above one door when there's 3 would confuse people and make them think that that's the only door that was for service. Another feature with having the doors individually signed is that I could adjust the signs, turn them on and off accordingly, because our general flow is in the morning, we have service customers bringing in their cars, and as the day changes, we would shift those doors where people were going in to in the evening, when most people are picking up their cars that they're either picking up from service or have purchased, would be then coming out of that area. So we could adjust it so that instead of being all 3 doors being used for service, we could go to 1 for service and then 2 for deliveries. And that, in addition to the stuff we've talked about over the past 3 months, pretty much sums it up.
Okay, any board questions? Go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions. Couldn't you accomplish what you were just describing by opening and closing the doors?
You could. I wouldn't want a door sitting there open in the winter. We kind of have extreme temperatures here, even in the summer. I mean, the objective is unless we're letting someone in, we're not going to have the door open.
But what you're proposing is a big service sign, approximately above that area where the 3 doors are.
Off to the left, yeah.
Right. Well, but still, you have 3 overhead doors, which are the only overhead doors in the front of that building. And you got a big service sign to the left and above them, and now you're saying you actually need 3 separate service reception signs above each door, and that people aren't going to be able to figure out where to go. Aren't you going to be directing them anyways?
Well, we were hoping to direct them with the signs. Yeah, we're not going to have a person outside, if that's what you're inquiring, no.
Well, no, I mean, if somebody comes there, they're going to go in the wrong door? Is it what you're worried about? I mean, that doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to me. It seems to me that it's overkill and visually polluting to have 3 additional signs, 4 service signs on the left side of that building. That's just my opinion.
Can't argue with opinions.
Well,
Yes, you could.
good, sure.
Well, then I've seen Honda stores that have this done, and I don't believe it's visually polluting to it at all. I think it's aesthetically pleasing and does make it clear. People like to be shown where to go. If we're getting any complaints about signage right now, it's that people don't know where to go. So I think anything that would help direct people of where to go and how to maneuver once they're in the store. I mean, it's a busy area. We've got employees going in and out. You got customers. We service over 120 cars a day, and we plan on growing still. And, as far as the signage goes, I would also say you really won't see those signs until you really pull into the store. I mean, it's not like you'd see them from the road. I mean, they're signs, and odds are once you're there, that's when you see them. So I don't think it would be, if someone's not there, it's not like it's bothering them.
I mean, to some extent, it seems like your argument's contradicting itself. Because what you're saying is, there's basically, the signs you have now aren't working. So you're saying, basically, you got 5 signs, and it's still not making a difference. So then...
Well, right now, we're talking about the 2 things. The signs I was saying aren't working are the ones that say, like, Dick Eyed and Honda and stuff. That was issue 1, where we're getting the approval to keep those on the building. The second issue is the directional signage, which we don't have anything really like that right now.
Right. But what you're saying is people still aren't finding a place, and you have 5 signs there. A logo sign.
Right.
Dick Eyed on one, Honda on another, on 2 sides of the building, which face the 2 roads that...
I know, we should totally have a big sign by 441.
Good luck with that.
I think you've asked for that before.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Can I, Mike, can I?
Yeah, I'm
ask?
done.
Okay. Really, that service where Mike's talking about, the service sign, was actually on the building before. It was just on the side of the building.
Correct.
And service reception was on the building before. That was on the side of the building.
Yes.
So all you're technically doing is moving the service sign in the front to say, this side of the building is service.
Service.
And then the other 3 little small signs, you're going to use the light up to say, pull in here.
Yes.
So they're almost directional signs, and that's why you need 3 of them, is because if one bay is full, you'll light the other 2 lights and they'll pull up to there.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to make it clear in my head that all you're really adding is 2 by 8 foot signs, 16-foot square signs, because that's what the service reception signs are, 2 by 8.
Right.
And 2 overhead doors.
And, well, yeah, but that's in the, again, the reason that he needs 3 signs is because he's adding 3 over, if he had 1 overhead door, he'd only need 1 sign, 'cause it's the only way to get in.
Well, and there is an
Since he's-
overhead door on the side of the building
Yeah.
currently, which we're,
And you had 1 sign because that's where people went in, right?
And
Now in
what's-
building a new building, aren't you putting 3 service doors in the front?
yes.
Okay, so we're not here to question that you have 3 service doors. My understanding is you would like a service sign over each door. And I think I just explained why I think you need it, because you're gonna use it as a directional sign. Pull in this bay, because this one's full.
Right.
I
Okay,
have a question.
Then why do
How
we need
about
approval?
over the 3 doors, just 1 sign over the middle door saying service and 2 arrows right off of that, so that they would see service was on the other 2 doors too?
Still 3 signs.
No,
Yeah.
just 1 sign with 2
Well,
arrows.
with a couple arrows.
Yeah.
If this is a directional sign, then why do we need it? Why does he need approval at all?
Because it has words on
He's
it.
making that argument that it's a directional sign in his application now.
Well,
We looked at it
Mr.
from the
Brewstermeyer just referred to it as directional sign.
And I understand that, and if you want to make an argument that these signs over the doors are directional signs, then the board can make that finding that they're directional signs, and they may not be required to comply with the provisions of the signage allotments as far as square foot area or numbers on the building.
Yeah, and I think he's stating that and saying it's a directional sign because it's gonna be used, if it's lit up, you go to that door. If it's not lit up, you don't go to the door.
Right.
You
I
can light
don't-
up all 3.
I don't think it's proper for the staff to make that argument
Right.
in initially, when we reviewed the application, that that's a directional sign. It's a sign over a doorway that basically says the same thing as the one sign that's being pulled around from the side that just says service.
Right.
And in this case, it says service reception. So,
Yeah, and he's making the case that
That's
it's a
right.
directional sign and it's our,
that's right.
the board's determination, whether it is or isn't.
That whether you want to consider it to be a sign where it needs to comply with the provisions of the code relative to size and or numbers.
Gotcha.
Anything else from the board?
I got one.
Sure.
Do you expect to have to come back anytime again if Honda makes you change these signs, or how
I
often
was
does
just
that
getting to
happen?
know you guys. I mean,
How often does that happen? Do you think, I mean, it seems like most of the time people come back and say, "Up, our manufacturer is saying we have to go through and change all our signs for bigger, better."
Well, we had that last month.
Right.
With
That's
the
one of the
dealership down
questions,
the
if
road.
we're-
You were here.
well, that's why I hesitate to, when you ask about potential changes, I know that Honda is very strict on how, they want the stores to look. And I've seen several of these new stores, and I haven't seen one that didn't get it this way. So the reason I would hesitate to answer and say, well, that could work, is I don't know if Honda would just come back and say no. So, I mean, there are other alternatives, but, Honda kind of likes
I
the
guess what
uniform look.
Andrews is saying is, you're forewarned.
Yeah.
You're back here in 2 months like we told them,
Yeah, your application would be a lot weaker if the building were more exposed to the streets.
Oh, I
And
agree.
you've said as much. Okay, anyone in the audience care to speak about this? All right, judging from the faces, I think everyone's ready to move on to the next application.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Application number 4, Chris Galena, 107 Angels Path, Webster, New York, 14580. Request an area variance from Article 3-3-37-A of the code to allow the construction of a garage addition with less setback at 107 Angels Path. The property is owned by Chris and Jenny Galena and is zone R-1-20. This is SBL number 094.03-2-69. This is application number 14Z-0042.
That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Good evening, my name is Chris Galena. I live at 107 Angels Path, Webster, New York, 14580. My wife Jenny unfortunately can't be here tonight. We have a 20-month-old and a 6-month-old, so she's a little bit busy. I'm sure she'd rather switch spots with me.
It's a good opening argument, by the way, thinking that's a little kid.
Gotta be careful. Rich could have used it, but yeah.
She's watching right now, so she's...
Oh,
I'm respectfully requesting a variance to add a garage addition to my already existing 2-car garage. I'd like to add a 3rd-car garage. If you want, I have a letter here from my neighbor, Don Barone, who resides at 111 Angels Path. I can give to the board if
Yeah,
you wish.
give it to Harold.
This letter states he's sees no objections or concerns as to any reason why I should not be able to build this structure. Few reasons why I want the addition. One, my wife is smashing the car door as she's opening up
She may be watching this,
the
be
doors,
careful.
so she's getting out the kids and stuff. And I actually just started a small little landscape business, and I bought a trailer. So I'm parking the trailer in the garage now. So this would give me an opportunity to extend over and put the trailer in there and then give my wife her spot for her truck and all that. I can't really store the trailer on the side of the garage. It'd be an eyesore for my neighbors. As far as building on the back of the garage.
Let me interrupt you for a moment. What he just talked about, Harold, storing the trailer on the side of the garage, is that permissible? Because it definitely would be an eyesore, but I just want to know if, if you get this denied, you can do that.
That's a very dicey subject now that he's brought it up. A trailer for personal use would be allowed to be stored there.
But for business?
For business, and in this particular case, would never be allowed. It is very specifically written in the code that it is not allowed, provided to run a landscaping business or the equipment operation. Obviously, if you own a landscaping business, you can run your office out of it and things of that nature, but the equipment cannot be operated off that property. So the trailer for personal use, yes, would be acceptable on the side there. For business use, wouldn't be allowed on the property anyplace.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to come to town and talk about that then. How about if it's combined personal and business?
We would defer to the most intensive use and say the commercial use
All right.
is not
You
permitted.
you ought to come in and speak with them about that, because you don't want to have an issue that somebody later complains about you're running a business out of your home. Just come in and talk with Harold about that.
Okay, I
All right,
understand.
good. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. As far as adding on to the back of the existing garage, excuse me, I have a natural landscape back there now. I have a large maple tree, decorative stone, concrete border. To remove that would cost more money on top of, and it kind of wouldn't serve the purpose as for what I want this, so I could pull my trailer out of the garage. With or without this business, I would still respectfully request this addition of the garage, just because my 2-car garage essentially is really a 1.5-car garage, and we can't fit her vehicle in there and my vehicle in there without one of us getting out with the kids and the bags and the car seats and the garage and all those things without smashing things. And my brother's already had to fix her truck as it is for dings and damages and whatnot.
And many of the homes in the neighborhood have 3-car garages.
Myself and my neighbor, I believe, are the only 2 on my street without a 3-car garage. There's a house around the corner, and I believe I included in your packet, it is the same build as my build, but it has a 3-car garage, so you could see exactly essentially how it would look with it. It's really...
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I just have one. You drew it on because you explained to me that you didn't have time to get, an architectural rendering. But with the asphalt, that you're going to extend the asphalt so you can get in there, right? On your
Correct.
little drawing here, you didn't extend the asphalt, but you are going to blacktop that part?
Correct,
So
sir.
that you can pull in there?
That's correct.
Okay. And the other thing is, this person is directly next to you.
That would be the house.
So this would be the person who would be directly affected by you building the garage?
That's correct.
Okay.
And he has, like I stated,
He
that he
has
has
no
no
problem with
objection
it, right.
to it at all.
Pass it down.
90% of the homes in that tract all have 3-car garages, so it would not, it'd be aesthetically pleasing.
It's going to match.
I would
the-
conform
yeah.
the rest of the neighborhood. I'm kind of the oddball out.
You're not gonna run the width of the asphalt the whole way, you're gonna just
Correct,
widen
I'm
it.
just gonna do like a little bit of a
So you're not gonna be impinging on the transformer, obviously?
negative.
Yeah, okay.
I will not be doing that.
I've got one question. You're looking to go 10-foot wide. I notice there's got to be almost 2.5, 3 feet from the one garage door to the next. Why not just go, what if you want 8 feet or a little bit less? Would that cause a problem?
I would like to do that, except they can't knock down the wall that's already there, because that's a supporting wall. I have to get an engineer in there, and he'd have to put up, I wish I could think of the name right now, special beams. I knew what they were.
Micro lamps. Micro lamps.
Micro lamps.
Yep.
I'd have to put those up, and that costs a fortune to have those put up. And even so, he says he's not sure if he can even do it at that point. So technically, I'm only going to cut out a space in the middle of that wall that's there now. So if I went 8 feet, I wouldn't even do it. It would serve no purpose.
So that's why you need that extra
That's
to
why I
go
need the
that far.
extra
Okay.
space, correct.
Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Come on up.
Right up.
You can just sit in the front row.
Hello, my name is Steve Nowak, and my property is in the back of Chris's. Chris, we've never met, but I see. When I had my house built, I did some due diligence. And the reason why I picked this neighborhood is because they're decent-sized lots with decent-sized setbacks. And the reason why I picked a lot in my neighborhood, I was the first one in this phase, is because how my lot is set up. And I can show you a picture. Can I bring this up?
Sure.
Give it to Dan.
Right, I do.
This is Chris's lot. This is Chris's
Why don't you
house.
come on up just so you know what point he's making?
Now, this is your lot. This is your house.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my house. And the reason why I picked my lot, and I worked with my builder to put my house this way, is so my house isn't like directly behind. See how my house is in between and how my house is set up, so I have some view, so I'm not like staring at the back of
Right, you
the
could see
person's
through a
house.
little,
I can
yeah.
see this.
Yep.
And if you come over, and I think, well, you're 10, the garage you can put up is like 10 by 16, right, Chris?
Correct.
So how far would you be from the boundary line here? Would you be like maybe 4 feet or so?
I'd be just under,
just
under, a hair under 5 feet, which is why I'm requesting a variance.
And I think, was it 10-foot setback is the thing?
Correct.
So I'm just saying, that it kind of like takes away from my due diligence of why I picked my house. I had my builder, and this is my morning room, the room we would use most.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just taken away.
Okay.
I mean, I can understand why he'd want a 3-car garage, because I do, even though I got mine side loaded, but I'm just figured I'm not doing myself any justice unless I come up here and explain.
Oh, fair
myself.
enough, absolutely.
Would that be a significant taking away from you, the view this past here?
Well, I mean, that's the reason why I picked my house, my lot, because see, most of these houses back up, I'm in between. And that's the reason why I picked my lot, and I worked with my builder, and I had my house designed.
Are these bushes, trees?
Yeah, these are some evergreen trees.
Eventually,
Those
those
are
are
about
block
12
you
foot,
anyways.
those are about 12-foot high pine
Yeah,
trees right
but
now.
if you can see that this goes to the boundary line, this is 10 feet, that's 10 feet, so I always have the 10 feet because of this. And this isn't, he's a little bit over. But, you know, even then, I'll still be able to get the light, I won't still see the back of his house.
Okay, I get it. I get it. Thanks. Any other questions?
Can you leave that book for us?
No, you can have it.
Sure.
That was all I had to say.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Anybody else care to speak about this application? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Application number 5, Jan Deanne, Chamberlain, Gray Robinson, Attorneys at Law, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa, Florida, 33601. Requests a conditional use permit under Article 3-3-77-I and Article 10-10-4 of the Code to allow the ownership transfer an existing gasoline service station, convenience store, and restaurant at 2180 Penfield Road. The property is owned by Hess Corporation, is Zone GB. This is SBL number 140.01-1-4. This is application number 140Z-0043.
Hi, my name is Kristen Peters. I'm representing Hess, just in the change of ownership for 2180 Penfield Road. And I'm basically here, I was told, just more for formality. So what you have
So
to
you want us
ask
to
me
grill
or
you, huh?
what?
Is that what-
I ran out of there, I got a milkshake on me. So I'm the manager over at the Hess in Penfield. So, you know, if there's any questions or anything I need to take back, I can do that, but,
Yes, well, because it's a change of ownership, we have to go through the conditional use.
okay.
Would you explain your ingress and egress?
Again, I don't know all the information. I was just told there's going to be absolutely no changes on the premises. The hours of operation will remain the same.
Where are you the manager? Which location?
Right at the corner of 250 and 441.
And that's the house we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's asking you, how do cars get in, how do cars get out?
Oh, we have an entranceway from 250, and we have an entrance on 441.
Okay.
And then we also have one coming in from the Brugger's parking lot.
And how many pumps do you have?
We have 12 regular fuel and 2 diesel. Or
And
one
you s-
diesel with 2 dispensers.
You say the hours of operation are the same. What are those hours?
24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Okay. And what about your signs?
We could use a larger Burger King sign, but I don't know.
What's already
Nothing
there?
is gonna change.
What is there, though?
Oh, right now we have a Hess and a Burger King sign underneath the Hess sign.
And there's no freestanding sign?
There was thanks for your shopping at the entranceways. And there's a drive-through sign now as well.
Okay. Now, the last planning board resolution said that you had to put in 10 additional trees around the ventilation, or around the modified storm water treatment. Has that been done?
As far as I know, everything was done when they put the Burger King in the location.
Okay. And has your dumpster been enclosed?
Yes.
Okay. I assume that the exterior lighting plan was localized and unobtrusive and has been approved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you install the handicap ramps?
We do have handicap ramps. Yes.
Ramps,
right.
do you have more than one?
We have one on the front sidewalk.
Okay, so you have one ramp.
Yeah.
Okay, have there been any drainage problems?
No.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned, the Burger King, you do have a Burger King indoors there,
Yes.
right? With a drive-through?
Yep.
Okay. And do you have tables in there, or is it just takeout?
No, we have 4 tables in there.
4 tables and like 2 chairs or 4? Or
2 tables have 4 chairs and 2 tables have 2 chairs.
Okay. And is this menu just like the regular Burger King, or is it?
Yep, we have a full menu.
Okay.
Yes.
And I assume that the grease traps and everything have been approved and ventilation is
Everything's
fine?
functioning beautifully.
Okay. Now, and that drive-through, is that open 24 hours too?
We are closing at 10 o'clock Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We just started staying open until midnight.
Okay. And what about indoors? Is it the same hours?
For the Burger King,
For the Burger
yes.
King?
Yes.
Okay. And you also have a Dunkin' Donuts kiosk in there?
No,
You don't?
no.
Okay, you were approved one. What do you have in there?
We have what's called a Good to Go Joe coffee program.
Good to Go Joe.
Yes.
Okay. And what do you serve on this?
Just the donuts, coffee, and cappuccino.
Okay. In addition, do you serve anything else like salads or anything else in the
We do have a
convenience
Good
part?
to Go case in the front where when you walk in that has sandwiches, salads, fruits, fresh fruit.
And who provides these?
The company is called Fresh One, and we get multiple deliveries every week.
Okay. And the rest is just normal convenience store things?
Yep, cigarettes, beer, soda, lottery, everything else.
Okay. Now outdoors, I see you have 2 ice containers, and I looked through the approvals, and I can't see that those were ever approved. Do you know if you ever came to the planning board?
I have not, but I know, the Hess store was rebuilt, I don't know how many years ago it was, and I'm sure approval was done for that, but something I can inquire about.
Okay, well, while you're here, I assume you want to keep the ice containers?
Absolutely,
Okay, and do you need 2 of them?
yes.
Here, are those considered outside storage?
Yes, they are.
Like soda machines and stuff,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, you don't have any music indoors or anything that could be
We-
heard outdoors?
We actually do have music indoors and outdoors.
And outdoors, how loud is that?
I don't normally get any complaints about it.
Well, let's put it this way, is it what you hear indoors, is what you hear outdoors?
Yes.
Okay, and there have been no complaints?
No.
Okay. Okay, I have to say that every time I've gotten gas there, everything has been immaculate, spick and span.
It better
very
be. I've been
clean.
working for Hess for a long time.
So I hope that with this new ownership change, that nothing changes in that respect.
Me too.
Okay.
Nothing should change.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience? Thank you very much.
Okay,
You did a
thank
fine
you.
job.
Yes.
Okay.
Application number 6, David Stair, 412 Bills Road, Massillon, New York, 14502, requesting expansion to a pre-existing non-conforming use under Article 4-4-15 of the code to allow the construction of a garage addition at 3202 Atlantic Avenue. The property is owned by the Outlet Rod and Gun Club and is zoned RR-1. This is SBL number 110.03-1-27. This is application number 14Z-0044.
Good evening, Board. My name is Dave Stair. I'm a director with the Outlet Rod and Gun Club, and I'm here to represent our application. As Harold indicated, we're pursuing a 995 square foot addition onto the existing garage, strictly for storage. Right now, that's what it's used for. We have a tractor with a front end loader and a brush hog and clay targets that we use for our recreational sport. We have to order them in large volumes because, one, price, two, the volume of shooting that we're doing and the availability of targets. What we'd like to do is expand our existing garage. 2 reasons. We're going to push the back out a little farther because right now the way it's constructed, our brush hog has to be removed from the tractor every time we store it. With the small bump up through the back, we'll be able to keep that on. And the rest of it will be for storage space for clay targets. They come in pallets, 5 feet tall. We're hoping to be able to purchase tractor trailer loads at a time now instead of just 10 skids.
Okay.
In terms of the garage addition, everything's going to match the existing garage?
Yes. The roof line would be slightly different. The new proposed roof will be 3-4 feet lower than the existing. Besides that, the outside material will be the same. It's currently a corrugated sheet metal. It'll match that.
2 bays more?
It'll be 2 additional bays. We have 2, and we're going to have a void in the middle and match 2 more on the outside. There will be 1 bay on the backside so that we can have a drive-through for the tractor that we utilize to maintain the property.
Right. From the Atlantic Avenue, it doesn't look like you'll be able to see the addition actually very much at all because of the trees you have there?
You'll probably be able to see it. I drive by as a responsible party. I concentrate to make sure I look over there, so I do see it. If you're not paying attention, the building's set back so far
You almost
that
drive
by the
by.
time you blink, you're there already. You're gone. And there's a substantial stand of trees to the west of this addition, which actually juts farther out to the east as in the front of the building. So if you're actually eastbound on Atlantic, you probably never would see it.
Right. The addition's not going to lead to any changes of hours or
No.
additional operating time?
No. Right now, we're permitted to shoot Sunday through Sunday during the normal operation hours, quiet hours. Our hours currently are shooting 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. That's what we operate as. Mondays, we have a trap league in the evening. This is only summer because we have sunlight. We have no lights to shoot under. Thursdays, we have Monday, we have a skeet league. Thursday, we have a trap league. Saturdays and Sundays are open shooting for either sport.
That's all I have.
Would it be fair to say that similar clubs have storage of the volume that you're seeking here?
Actually, what a
In your
lot of clubs
experience?
do, most clubs are probably a little bit more rural.
Right.
And they buy Averti canisters, like
Oh,
a tractor
okay.
trailer. That's not going to be permitted here, so.
Yeah.
And we like to maintain and keep our club as nice looking as it is. We are proud of it. We mow regularly. Just last year, we paved the entrance for a safety issue. The driveway was breaking apart where it met the road. So we gave ourselves a landing pad, if you will, for traffic for safety reasons.
Okay.
So different clubs have different sizes. So to say they buy as many, Walworth is a 2 trap field club. We're a 4-trap field club, 3 skeet fields, so we're a little bit larger, so our volume, our membership is somewhere around 550. Other clubs may not have that many.
Great. Okay, any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that was the last one, so public hearings will be adjourned, take a brief recess, and reconvene in the back. Thank you all very much. Okay, application number 1.
This is the fence that goes along the whole side of the yard. I mean, I really feel bad, Adam, but I think you're gonna have to take 2 sections down, okay? And hopefully you can use them somewhere else. But we have to have some line of sight from that corner. I know you came up and said that, you know, the fence being there kind of slows people down, but that kind of means that they can't see either. So if you take 2 sections down, I'm gonna, you know, say okay to the rest of the fence being the 3-foot variance, okay? So your whole fence, you don't have to touch the rest of it, but the first 2 sections from the corner, you're gonna have to take down, okay?
I can live with that.
Okay. So that's my motion.
Am I able to ask questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Just to Harold, pretty much. With that extra fencing, am I able to fold it in? So make a right angle right there? Would that give me enough room on my north border to do that?
I would have to
You
look
said
at
3
the-
feet, you said 3 feet, I think, didn't you?
I'd have
If I
to,
take 2 sections out, that's
Remeasure it.
16 feet back. I'll get with you.
That's still within the
Have
right.
somebody come out on site and work
That's
with
still
it.
in the right. way.
Yeah, if he, well, wait a minute. It may, but it's only.
Hey, it's saving me a lot of money.
If you need that okay, Harold, I'll okay the 3-foot height difference, even if it violates that, because that's all we're talking about is the height. It's not the distance. So maybe the first section needs the variance, the second section wouldn't need the variance.
So it's like you're gonna condition it,
But
it's a
if you're
condition.
putting it this way.
Do that.
and
Yeah, either
front, that's what
remove
he's
it
talking
or
about,
angle
it.
you're increasing the amount of violation
whatever.
from this line.
No, because if he's back far enough from, if
But
he
he's not
takes it
that
back,
far enough, Joe.
well, wait, let me see if,
We're talking about north and east.
Yeah.
Why don't you go and draw on the board?
I also got another thing to think about. How come 1 section versus 2 sections? How are you determining 2
well, I'm
sections
determining that
versus
because
one?
I think 2 sections will give it enough line of sight. Okay, that's
Yeah.
my opinion.
let me do this.
You know, if you think it's more, let me know.
I would have said just 1, but that would have been,
Okay.
that's what I was
Said
asking.
8 feet,
Yeah.
right? 8-foot section.
8 foot back seems like it might give enough. I mean,
But he's pretty close to the corner.
well, it was back behind the sidewalk, which is already there. You've got the grass, you've got the sidewalk, plus I think you had at least 2 or 3 feet
I'm 3 feet off the sidewalk,
off the
exactly.
sidewalk already. So what, that's probably 12 feet off
It's
the road?
19 feet off the curb.
19 feet off the curb. So,
But you don't know where the right of way is.
Right, but I mean, if we're looking at, line of sight, if we're going to go 19 feet plus 8, is that extra 8 on top of that going to make a difference?
So if you took off 1 section of the fence from the in front of your house, how far would that be to the corner? About?
It would increase it 8 feet. So wherever my north post is now,
Yeah.
it would increase it by 8 feet. I don't
8
know-
foot. So
I
what
don't
you,
know how close-
when I said 2, it would increase it by 16 feet.
Correct.
Okay. See, that's what I'd rather.
I understand what both of you are saying,
Yeah.
and even if you take 2 sections back and it's further than this front 20-foot line, you're still gonna be in this area
That's what
here.
I'm saying, Joe.
So from east.
Right, from the east. So even if he takes this fence and bends it around and, let's say, pulls it out to here, there's still be a section of fence in this area here, because
It's in violation. You
Yeah,
have to
okay,
approve
wait a
it.
minute. You got that drawn. Can I draw? Just for giggles. Actually, his street curves that way, and the fence is here. Okay, because as I pulled up, I looked and I could see through
Sitting behind a billboard.
to the curb. Now, wait a minute. So if he takes 2 sections out of here, okay, and turns them this way, that's what you're talking about, correct? Is he okay here? I
Yes,
thought,
but the setback's over here, so you're increasing it within this setback.
2 setbacks.
Well, he's got 2 fronts.
Let's say the 20 feet
That's right.
this way.
He-
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is I'll okay 6 foot here and here, as long as it's not here. I'm just getting rid of the line of sight.
As long as we're clear on that.
And you're
Yeah.
allowing them to increase the amount of
Do you
violations.
Yes.
understand what Joe's saying? Okay, good.
So I can fold it in.
Yeah, so you see what I mean,
You still
Dan?
should talk with Harold and get him out
I
there.
will, I will draw you a very detailed.
That's right.
Again, he's gonna take this and put it over this way. And all I'm trying to do is when somebody pulls up to this corner, they can see down there so that you don't get hit.
If I gotta take anything out, I'd rather take 2 sections. rather than
2
one.
sections. Okay, I'll make that
One,
motion.
one would look silly if I just folded
Carol
it.
seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 seconds and I'll okay the height if there's a violation in there, okay? Seconded, Carol, still?
Yes.
Yeah, and this
Well,
is a type 2 action?
Yeah, thank you. I was just gonna, it's a
Took
type,
the words right out of his mouth.
yeah, I just thought, we didn't say that.
Yeah.
First, I'll make a motion, it's a type 2 action.
Okay, so no further environmental review required. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now I'll make that motion. That remove 2 of the sections and he's allowed to turn them in, and if it still violates the 20-foot setback from the street, I'm okay in the height. Okay, because that's what we're talking about, is the height within 20 feet from the street, right?
Correct. It's
From the right of way.
from,
Right away, yeah.
well,
Right of ways.
yes, right away. In this
Right
case,
away.
in his application that presented, it was right away. It's 2
Okay,
right of ways.
then right away.
It's actually right somewhere.
Okay, so we're all on the same page here in terms of understanding what the motion is?
Yes. I do.
Did we get a second?
Yeah,
Carol.
Carol.
All right, I have a motion to approved as modified, I'd say, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Good luck.
Yes,
Thank you.
and it is nice, beautiful fence, both of them are.
All right, let's do 2.
Okay, number 2, type 2 action, no further environmental.
Second. All those in favor on the seeker motion?
Aye. Okay, with this one, I don't see a problem with it at all. It's far enough back from the corner, you got a visual sight for turning the corner, and all it is really blocking his backyard and the side of his house. So I'll make a motion to give him the variance for the height of the fence.
And
Further
put in there
discussion?
that the fence has been there over a year and there have been no complaints.
Okay.
There are no accidents, no problems.
Good adding to it, yeah, okay.
Okay, further discussion? Motion to approve in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you. By the way, Harold, we didn't have your typical.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Number 3.
My bad.
No, that's okay. Don't be so sensitive. I'm just.
I figured you guys would try
Why
to
don't you
free will
make a
once.
motion on this one, Dan, since nobody really.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yes, he is. Okay.
Number 3, I'm going to make a motion to approve the requests. I would say, in terms of discussion, that if, as I said at the end of your application, if this building were located somewhere else, I don't think I'd be making a motion. No.
No, we didn't do seeker because it
I
was
thought
part, no, it was part of the previous application.
It is a new
It is
application
a new
too,
application,
so
yeah.
I'm sorry, that's my bad.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say it was unlisted?
No, you didn't, but I was thinking it.
Yeah.
He's a mind
You're
reader.
thinking loud.
I'd make a motion to determine that this is an unlisted action,
With no further.
and also with no significant impact, no further need for a seeker. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So continuing, and I'd make a motion to approve, but as I told you, if it were a different location, I actually think that queuing the customers will work best with having a sign over each bay. I get your argument about with the arrows. I get it. I think people, especially in the morning, and if they're not familiar, they want to be like sheep, told exactly where to go. That's just my personal feeling. As far as the other building, the other signs, they've been there a long time. We don't know how it happened. Is it overkill? Again, probably. That's why I say at another location I'd be agreeing with Mike, but you're not. So,
Second.
on the other hand, it sort of undercuts your need for them too. but,
Well, once you're there, they're effective, once
right.
you find
No, I understand.
My phenomenal advertising gets them.
Yes. All right, so,
The guide side on the Mazda, is there?
Yeah, there is.
There is?
Yeah, you guys approved it.
See, there you go.
Yeah, that's how much you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I hope you guys approved it, geez.
yeah, right.
Don't go there. I don't know about that.
All right, so we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? One opposed. Okay, great. Where are we now? Number 4, keeping along.
You're good.
All right. Thank you very much.
And again, thank you for your perseverance. You were always a
Thank
gentleman
you.
about it, and that's good.
But before we
Uh-huh.
leave, as long as he's here, what do you want to do with disposing of the other application? The one
The
that's
first
tabled?
one you file,
The table
just
application.
move. You consider that withdrawn
Yeah.
or consolidated with this one.
I've got my signs and I've got the ones above the garages, right?
Yeah.
I got one other,
Okay.
I got one other question. Did we determine how much signage was actually there?
You already
How
said
much was
aye.
allowed? I know, no, but I did.
No, he did, actually, he didn't say that.
He said, no, let him ask questions.
No, I just think for the, for the-
Yeah, it should go in the resolution that
I've got
the
all
square
that,
footage,
all
sure.
that, yes,
Yeah.
I've got all the numbers
You,
and.
you might want to wait until after we do the remodel. We're going to shrink some down, actually. There might be less.
You should have told us that, for God's sake.
Yeah. Or you should have said anything.
Or just take the.
Yeah, come measure it, whatever.
See ya.
But yes.
Have a nice day, Richard. Pleasure to have you.
So the tabled application will officially consider to be
Withdrawn and
that portion.
consolidated, somebody said, which is a better word, more accurate.
My 8-day-old.
Okay, have fun. Congrats. Number 4, this is mine. This is a type 2, I think, is it?
I believe it is.
All right. And therefore, no further action under seeker needed. You got a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to make a motion to approve. The argument that Steve made is a reasonable argument. That's the neighbor. But I also think that somebody asked about viewing all the way through to the road versus just kind of being able to look out his backyard as far as you can see. And I think that's the more valuable part. And I don't see how this is going to disturb that at all. Also, the point about those evergreens growing, they're gonna keep growing and block the vision anyway. But it was good to hear his point, and it was valid. But in any event, in terms of the variance, I think it's a reasonable variance, and that it passes the balancing test. So I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Number 5. Take it easy, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care now.
Number 5, I think it's unlisted, is it, Harold?
That's a good question.
Yes, that's.
Gotta be right at you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
change of
no
ownership?
reaction?
I don't know.
It's unlisted because it's not specifically enumerated.
I wouldn't think a change of ownership is.
Well, from a technical standpoint, it's not necessarily a change of ownership, it's the process, the conditional use permit is not
Okay.
necessarily listed in the.
Right.
Okay, so no action is required.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, essentially, this is really nothing's really gonna be changed, essentially, from what's already there. And we only did it because it's a change of ownership. So, the only thing that we don't have, or at least I couldn't find it, was the ice machines.
Yeah,
out
good
in
call.
They were there from before, though.
And they've been there right along, for quite a while. So I see no problem with, letting them keep them there. Obviously, they must need them, or they, probably wouldn't need to. This meets all of 10-4. I won't go through all the 10-4. We approved the Burger King with the drive-through. And the one thing that they did change, which obviously they never came in through, was not Dunkin' Donuts anymore. It's good to go operation. So we can approve that too. Everything else really is the same. So yes, I'm gonna move that we approve the conditional use, the ice machines. Good to
Okay.
go.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor? Aye. Number 6.
Motion to grant a neg deck on type 2 under seeker. There's no significant environmental impacts.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the addition as they specified. I don't, they keep the ground very clean there when I was there, and they want to keep it that way. And I think in terms of the other alternative is there's nothing to stop them stacking all the skids outside, and that wouldn't look, a whole trailer truck load out there wouldn't look good, not that they couldn't do it. And I think I would agree with them, it's better to keep it inside and safer.
And actually, that's why I asked that question at the end, because this is actually an expansion of pre-existing non-conforming use, and I think by granting this, we will bring them more into conformity in terms of keeping up a good appearance. Exactly.
And I'm not sure, but he did mention that the existing brush hog has to be disassembled.
Yes.
And I believe the implement, the cutting implement, is left outside of the building.
Didn't look like there was room for it, because they were actually mowing the lawn when I was there, and it was,
Yeah,
you
there's
could tell
no
it was a
room.
tight fit.
Yeah, there's no
So
room in
this,
there.
in other words, this will clean up the site itself.
Yeah, because right now, I think the
Brush hog
implement, the
being
brush hog implement, not the tractor,
Right.
is stored
Just the
outside
implement,
of the building. Now, this will be all inside the building here.
Great.
Just not on this application, but I think we could conceivably recommend adding that to the list of things for the committee to look at too. Because that language there's got to be another way of getting to that point without requiring greater compliance.
Right. We've always
massaged it,
interpreted it
but-
very broadly, greater
Right.
compliance. And even this instance, keeping a nicer, although historically it was probably more rural, and in rural areas, people leave stuff outside more.
I guess what I'm saying is because greater compliance sounds good, but as a practical matter,
not
do you really,
always,
do you- yeah,
I
do
think-
you really need that to make it
I
worthwhile?
don't think that's not, this is coming in under the non-conforming use provision as opposed to non-conforming structure provision.
Uh-huh.
The bringing more into conformity is under the structure
Oh, okay.
provision.
All right.
Where the non-conforming use is, it doesn't talk in terms of bringing it
And
more
that's
into
the other
conformity.
reason it's non-conforming.
Well,
Mike, is
good
the,
catch.
it's done.
I think it might be an unlisted action
So
too,
then
but
now- so then we should
it'll
talk
be the
about
same.
greater
I think you said type
compliance
2, but I
anyway.
think it's unlisted.
I'm listening, okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I still need a second.
I'll
A second,
second
though,
that.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Carol can second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next month, any,
Probably 5 or 6
And I'm not going to be there next
Allison?
month. I got a vacation scheduled.
for
Oh,
next
good for
month. 5 or 6 now.
Change the date for next month?
Yeah, I think it's 5 or 6.
No, September.
September only? I thought we did 2
moved it
months.
To the 15th.
we did May,
Okay.
so we
We
did
were
May
trying
and
to
September.
forego, right?
Was it?
We were trying to forego if we could.
Yeah, I've got 5 or 6 already in the office, and I think I've got another 2 coming in still.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we've got
the
a,
deadline's tomorrow.
yeah, deadline's tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Good job tonight, folks. That's an hour and a half.
Okay.
So we're adjourned.
Stand
We are
adjourned.
adjourned.
Make a motion to adjourn? Do we need to? I don't know.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, Carol.
You do it,
All those in
Joe.
favor? See you next month.
Yep.